Behold, it's me! Yes, we're going to be talking about Vaughan Williams, the Sea Symphony. Behold the sea. Crash. We're going to get to this in a minute. There's a reason I have these, besides doing that stunning opening, you know? I've always wanted to do that. Haven't you? I mean, come on, admit it. All right, we're going to talk about Vaughan Williams, a Sea Symphony, and I have at least 16 recordings of it to get through. Can you believe it? 16 recordings of this thing? Why would anyone want that? It's insane. It's completely insane. I mean, it's a very, very beautiful work, but a problematic one. And so let's get right to it, shall we? The problem with a Sea Symphony, first of all, is that the poetry is by Walt Whitman. I hate Walt Whitman's poetry. Can't stand it. I think it's pompous nonsense. It just goes on and on. Oh, here are all the ships, each with its little flag. This one is faster, and that one is slower, and this one's wiggling, and that one's bobbing, and it just goes on and on like it's just ugh. And it's my fault because my sister, who is a poet, I really a poet. I mean, she's a superb literature person and writes beautiful poetry. She loves Walt Whitman and can recite reams of it by heart. So we fight about this all the time. We really do. I mean, I like Emily Dickinson. I don't like Walt Whitman. She hates Emily Dickinson. So there's a big family squabble involved in Walt Whitman, but you may not care. I mean, you can't argue that the music doesn't fit the words. And of course, Walt Whitman's poetry is wonderful for music because it's so unmetrical. And so you can basically do whatever you want with it in setting the words. And he was extremely popular in the UK around the turn of the 20th century. And for just that reason, and there are all kinds of Whitman settings. So we have a Sea Symphony. But for me, the biggest problem with the Sea Symphony is the finale. Oh boy, the finale really cannot last more than about 27, 28 minutes. And the biggest problem with the finale is just when you think it's over, and it's disappointingly over because you think it's going to end quietly, it revs up again with grab your anchors, hoist your sails, come on, me boys, here we go, you know, and it takes off again, only to end quietly. So it's a double disappointment, and it can't drag. It just can't drag. And it so often does. 27, 26 minutes, even better if you can get away with it. And, you know, we always say timings don't tell all. Just as important as phrasing and rhythm and accent and articulation. And that is always true. But the fact is that this symphony has dead spots. And if you're going to get over the dead spots, you cannot relax too much in these slow parts. You've got to maintain the tension. And some performances just don't. And having gotten through like the thrilling scherzo, The Waves, which is the fifth movement, which I always thought sounds like the end of the Gloria in Beethoven's Mrs. Solemnis, don't you think? When the chorus just shouts out the last words, following. And in the Beethoven, it's Gloria. You know what I mean? Did you ever notice that? Anyway, the bottom line is that you're all revved up. It's beautiful. The second movement, On the Beach at Night Alone, is gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful. The first movement, 20 minutes long. Okay, it's the opening movement. You're awake. But then you get to the finale. And that's always the stickler. And for that reason, I am not mentioning Bryden Thompson on Chandos. Nope. And I am not mentioning Richard Hickox, also on Chandos. His, because the sonics are so low level that I find the performance unlistenable. I mean, there are just so many better recorded ones that sound much more brilliant and present. There's no point even wasting time on talking about the interpretation. I'm also not talking about Adrian Bolt on Decca. I mean, I'm talking about it. I'm dismissing them, the mono one, because it's mono. And you don't want to hear this piece in mono. It's a thrilling piece for organ and soloists and chorus and huge orchestra. And if you want to go hear it in mono, knock yourself out. I want to be thrilled. I mean, sonically thrilled. And if I'm not, I have no time for it because life is too short and we have 15 other recordings to talk about. Let's talk to the recordings. Hello, recording. We'll talk about the performances. Now, first I have, let's see how many we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 that go into my snooze fest category. And the snooze fest category of performances you definitely don't want because they are snoozy. They just take too long. In my view, I don't have the patience for them. Snoozy number 1, the ultimate. High tink. Blah, ugh, horrifying. 71 minutes. The whole piece should take between, say, 63, 65, somewhere in there, 66, and 68. Again, what's 2 minutes in a work that's that long? What's 3 minutes? You'd be surprised because often the timing is also indicative of other issues, of a lack of forceful accentuation, of a lack of dynamic range, of a general slackness of rhythm, even when the tempo isn't bad. And we'll see one of those coming up. You'll see exactly what I mean. So, high tink is a bow wow. Woof. Forget it. Horrible. Terrible. Pardon the symbols there. They'll be back. Next. Oh, God. This one's gotten raves in the British press. How? I cannot imagine. Mark Elder with the Halle Orchestra. Another snooze fest. 70 minutes of total boredom. Complete, utter, total boredom. Excellent soloists. Yes. But, it's like Beethoven's Ninth. Who listens to it for the soloists? I mean, you have to be kidding. It's just a bore. Plain and simple, and not that well recorded either. I mean, it's just lousy. Next. Oh, Martin Brabbins on Hyperion. Another just soft-edged, dull performance. Now, this is with the BBC Symphony and the BBC Chorus. English orchestras these days, let's talk about this for a minute, tend to use huge, clodhoppery, swooshy pairs of cymbals that never existed until the past 20 years or so. I mean, they're enormous, and quite often they double strike because they're so big. Let me show you what I mean here. Hang on a second. This is a reasonably decent-sized 19-inch, 19, 20, 22, if you're pushing it, set of orchestral cymbals. See, they're large. I mean, they're big. But when you play them, you have to be able to match up the edges. See, I double struck. It went ka-chung instead of. There we go. You see? That's what you're supposed to do. Now, when you hit them hard and fast, of course, you don't have to be totally in line because you're going to be going sort of one past the other. And so, you'll only hear one strike. But these things are so big that they often double strike. And what's more, they don't have any attack. They just go swoosh. So it doesn't matter how loud the orchestra's playing. Sometimes you can't even hear them because they just go swoosh. You want to hear a crash. You want to hear a bite, an accent when the cymbals come together. And this is a problem that's endemic in English orchestras today in their percussion sections. I have no idea how this pernicious habit took root, but it's just awful. If you look at what cymbals were, I mean, I'm not an authenticist, as you know, but when you look at what they were, I mean, I've got a pair of real Turkish Zildjian Ks that are like yay big. They're the loudest things you've ever heard in your life because they were thick and they had body and resonance. These things are horrible. And Martin Brabbins has them. It's behold the sea, swoosh. I mean, but the performance itself is like that. The whole performance is a swoosh. So forget about Martin Brabbins on Hyperion. Not worth hearing. Also, in my dull category, Vernon Handley. Now, Handley is usually pretty exciting and pretty good, but this is another performance that's let down by the sonics. These Royal Liverpool Philharmonic, the whole Vaughan Williams cycle, I mean, the performances, some of them are very, very good, but the sound has that hollow, sort of less tactile, empty quality with occasionally big throbbing organ pedals that it just sounds like it was recorded in a barn. And again, I have no patience for C symphonies in less than great sound. So Handley goes away. Finally, we get Paul Daniel on Naxos. Now, this is not a bad performance, but again, it's badly recorded. It's not terribly recorded. It's just not great. Not great. It's distant and it's lacking in impact, and it's a very fast performance, 63 minutes and 54 seconds. Yay! In great sound, this would have been really something. I'll bet it would have been, but It's not great. So I did get the opening fanfare from this, though, that I used. So there you go. Now, let's talk about performances that are kind of worth considering, that are fun. And I'm going to start with two using non-English forces, because I think this is wonderful. And there is a lesson here which I have to talk about. First of all, Gennady Rozhdestvensky. Yes, Russian people. It's the USSR Ministry of Culture, State Symphony Academic Orchestra of the SSR, whatever, Emporium, I don't know, whatever it's called. You know, it's a very good performance, very well conducted, actually well recorded, and you can't really hear the chorus. I mean, the balances are a little favoring the orchestra, which may be a good thing, but it's not bad. It's really not. It's much more exciting than the ones I just showed you. So, you know, if you're curious and you want to hear some really heavily accented English, that's fun. And I like accented English. More on that in a second. Also, this one, this is on MDR, from MDR in Germany, and it's with the MDR Symphony Orchestra and the MDR Radio Choir. That's the Mitteldeutsch, you know, the Mitteldeutsch people. And with Howard Arman conducting, and Geraldine McGreevy and Tommy Hakala, wonderful Finnish baritone, as the soloists. Now, again, you know, the obvious sound of the chorus is not English. They go, "Behold the sea," you know. It's. But now here is my outpouring when it comes to English. There is nothing more obnoxious, in my view, than native English speakers pissing on foreigners for singing in English. I mangle everything. You probably do too. How many times have we been singing? We sing European music. In England, they sing it. They sing in French. We sing in German. We sing Beethoven's Ninth. We sing Russian. We sing Shostakovich's 13th. We probably make a god-awful mess of it. You know, I'll bet the Russians and the Germans and the French are all sitting there going, yeah, listen to that horrible pronunciation. Oh, my goodness. You know, and they're right. It sucks, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that if you want this music to become the international success it deserves to be, you have to encourage that it be performed, that it be sung and performed. And I take as examples of this my Finnish friends, you know, who, when I went to see Kullervo, you know, in Brooklyn with Robert Spano. He was the conductor of the Brooklyn Philharmonic then. You know, they had Brooklyn. It was Brooklyn. They're in chorus. It's a pickup orchestra, basically, you know, a for-hire orchestra. And they did a very respectable Kullervo. And my Finnish friends only said how happy they were that they had bothered to learn something in Finnish. They were proud of it. They were encouraging. They were kind. And was the pronunciation great? I have no idea. They would know, but they weren't laughing. They weren't sneering. And this is particularly true of British critics. Don't make fun of people singing in English because, frankly, British English isn't English as far as I'm concerned. It's some sort of strange dialect. I don't want to hear from it. And Walt Whitman, by the way, was American and did not write in British English. So he did not write, "Behold the sea." No. He did not. He wrote, "Behold the sea." So let's be clear about this. People sing as well as they can and they pronounce things as well as they can. Stop being hypocritical and don't criticize a performance because you don't like the way that the choir pronounces, or pardon me, let's be British. You don't like the way the choir pronounce. Oh, you people with your collective nouns and verbs that don't agree. You don't like the way the choir pronounces the words. Now, having said that, let us continue with some of the better versions. All right, this one. This is very good. Andrew Davis, and this is also with the BBC Symphony Orchestra, but the cymbals are better recorded. It sounds so much more impactful than it does under Martin Brabant's here on Hyperion. This is on Teldec, of course, and it's a very, very good performance. It's a little teeny weensy bit, I think, slow in the finale. Well, it's not slow. It's 28 minutes. It's about right, but for some reason it drags a little here and there, but it's a very good performance and very beautifully recorded. Also quite good. Here's Robert Spano again on Telarc. with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra and Chorus. Marvelous chorus. Very, very well paced, this performance. I have the timing here. What was it? It's 61 minutes. Yeah, it's quick. Very quick. I like that. I really, really, really like the quickiness. 61? Yeah, 61. Absolutely fabulous. 26 minutes in the finale. That's fabulous. And I have to say, I have a sort of sentimental feeling for this Telarc recording because way back just before the whole classical music industry tanked and Telarc tanked, you may recall, I was invited out to Cleveland with my colleague, Christophe Huss, who's up at Le Devoir in Montreal now. And then he was at Repertoire magazine, I believe. But we were invited to come to Telarc and listen to audio demonstrations of SACD technology. And it was fun. So we went to Cleveland, and where my brother was living at the time, so we had a place to stay, and we went to the Telarc headquarters, and of course they had this room with, soundproofing all over the place, and this nuclear power plant, sound system, it was using fusion power. It was the first one. It was louder than hell, and they blasted away at this. This was their latest production, and they were showing off SACD technology, which I didn't find impressive at all, but the performance was really good. Really good, except you can't hear the triangle. That's the thing with Atlanta Symphony recordings. They use a very lightweight triangle, but that's okay. I mean, it's a very, very beautiful performance. Very well done. And the soloists are really good, too. Christine Gerke, who's fantastic, the soprano, and Brett Poligato, baritone. It's a beautiful, beautiful performance. Of all the more recent ones, however, the most exciting, in my opinion, I mean, really, really exciting, is this one. Andrew Mancy. I mean, Mancy, is hit or miss as a conductor so far, but he seems to be coming into his own a bit. And I haven't liked all of his Vaughan Williams performances, but this C Symphony is also really exciting and really well recorded. It's very well recorded, so it's brilliant. And really, the opening is thrilling. The finale, he gets through in 27 minutes and 25 seconds, which is absolutely perfect, I think. And it comes with the Lark Ascending. You get a coupling with James Ennis as the amazing violin soloist. This is also the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra and Choir. And it's incredible how much better they sound than they did when they were conducted by, where is he? Here he is, Vernon Handley. There it is, Vernon Handley with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic. Definitely a step up, a step ahead. And for you Handley fans, and I know you're out there, and Handley is one of those conductors who has a quasi-little cult following. Compare this. Seriously. And if you're honest about it, this will be your choice. It's on Onyx, and it's absolutely first rate. Now we come to some classic versions that I really, really love. There is Andre Previn with the London Symphony Orchestra. This really set almost a new standard for the work when it came out, not because of tempo, but because it was so sharp, so forcefully accented, so disciplined and tight and together, and all in a good way. It's a wonderful, wonderful performance, and it has terrific soloists too, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just take it out here and take a peek just to be sure. Yeah, Heather Harper and John Shirley Quirk. It's John Shirley Quirk before he developed the Wobble from Hell, and Heather Harper, of course, is a fantastic singer. I mean, the solo parts for soprano have never been better done. And it sounds wonderful, and this Previn recording really is a classic with the London Symphony, first rate. Also first rate, and for a slightly different reason, of course, is Leonard Slatkin. First of all, it's with the Philharmonia, and the Philharmonia sounds just great in this music, and Slatkin really conducts with his typical punch and energy. And again, it's a question of accent, not speed, because the tempos are actually rather broad. The finale here is 29 minutes, which is about as slow as you can take it and get away with it. But when you play it with the necessary impact and with the necessary character and with the dynamics in place and all of that phrasing and accentuation emphasized correctly and in proportion and with sharpness, you get marvelous, marvelous results. And so the Slatkin Philharmonia is great, and the soloists are Benita Valente and Thomas Allen. It's a lovely, lovely performance. However, isn't it amazing how much we've gone through in only 20 minutes? I'm looking at the clock here. Only 20 minutes. The best, still the best, still the best. better than all the rest. Yes, is Adrian Bolt's Stereo with the London Philharmonic. It's this one, guys. Good old Sir Adrian. You know, it's silly sometimes to say, well, you know, I mean, it's you go back to the classic version, you know, from the dawn of time. But this is still the best recorded. Sonically, it is the best recording. Never has the opening sounded more resplendent, more marvelous. It is the most effortlessly paced. It's not, you know, it's Bolt. You know, the discipline is always a little relaxed in his performances, but the flow, you never know the piece has dead spots. The finale is gorgeous, gorgeously fluid and fluent. Everything just sounds right in that performance. And boy, you get the organ pedals and the harp swishing around, and you get you know, these guys, you know, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the result is absolutely superb. It is still, after all these years, one of those performances where everything went right. You know, Bolt came from that English choral music tradition, and there's just something about that performance, about its idiomatic rightness, that I don't think anyone has ever beat. And so, if you want the Sea Symphony right side up, the one you have to get is Sir Adrian Bolt with the LPO and Singer People. Who are the Singer People? Let me just tell you. What the hell? Not that it makes any difference, because it's still the best one. Does it tell? Do we? Oh, look at this. They don't even tell you on the disc. So we look in the booklet. Hang in there. The cavalry is charging up the hill. Oh, God, yeah. Sheila Armstrong and John Carroll Case. What's not to love, right? I mean, they're great. They're just great. And that's the Sea Symphony to own. And it's kind of funny, you know, having seen all this parade of new ones come along. And really, again, here's a case where you need to like tie everyone down, play this one and say, you're going to do as well, if not better, or you're not going to. And that is what we need to hear. So thank you, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this little chat about the Sea Symphony. Behold the Bolt. That's the answer. Take care and keep on listening. Bye-bye.